Welcome to the Paddy Wagon without Addy. It's just Paddy, Peter. It's me, Peter Duke, and my partner, Addy Adds, isn't around. I don't know where he is. He was supposed to, maybe we have a disconnect. Looks like I'm a little out of focus. Let me check my focus here a little bit. And then I should switch to comments. And I guess I'm going to do this solo tonight. It will be my first time, so bear with me if I'm a little stunted, because usually I like to have conversations with other people. I admire people like Mark Kulak, who can just like sit at a camera and talk for 3 hours. Like there's other people there. It's pretty interesting how he does that. If you're wondering why these birds are flying around my head, it's because I've been on Twitter too much today, and I just need to get rid of that. So, and they're gone, just like that. All right. So the theme for the day, there's a, I guess maybe I should stretch and wait for people to come in or something. No. Actually, what I can do is while we're waiting, is that I can start off with a video of this guy named Dan in Russia. And Dan, I've gone back and I've kind of tried to fact check this guy. The theme of the day is trying to figure out what's real as far as all of the news that is coming at us, specifically about Ukraine and Russia right now. Because if you guys have been following me on Twitter, I've been quote tweeting a lot of news coming out of the war zone as maybe. Because there's certain things that I look for when I'm looking at news, things like dates, some kind of verification that the person is actually standing in the place that they say that they're going to. There's certain kind of tips and tricks that I can pass on to you about things that I look for in these different pieces of media, and things that are kind of like, I would say, a trigger, or something that alerts me that maybe there's something wrong with it. But in the meantime, let me show you this video from this guy Dan. It's, I don't know, I think it's like 19 minutes long. I've got it queued up to one point, which I think is probably the most important thing. He's a Russian. Okay, these are all things that Dan claims to be. He's had a video on YouTube channel since about 2018, so about 4 years. And he seems to be kind of just a normal schlub. He claims that his dream is to learn how to speak English, which I find interesting framing. He calls all of the people who are his audience adorables. And that, I suppose, if you don't really know how to speak English that well, is adorable. So it's kind of adorable that he calls people adorables. And he's got a cute little baby, and that makes my fiance coo. When she sees Dan's baby, she gets all, cuddly, wormy inside. And he's also, and he's a very kind of a normal guy. It seems. However, I'm such a cynic at this point. Like, the first thing that I needed to do is try to figure out whether or not this guy is a psyop. So let's take a look at Dan, and then you guys can let me know what you think. Let's see. Let's see. How do I make the... Okay, do we have audio? There we go. Dink, dink. And it's not playing. And it might be because I moved the file. This is not good. Let me see if I can go find the file. Yes, we're all professionals here. Gasoline prices. I can put the file back on my desktop. I tried to clean my desktop up before I started, and I didn't realize. Okay, so let me get rid of this. We'll remove it. And then I will remove this from the studio. And then I will go share video file. share. There it goes. Gasoline prices.
Hi guys, adorables. For new friends, we are a simple Russian family. Our dream is...
Okay, we're a simple Russian family. Like, he's framing the whole thing, right? And again, I want to believe this.
Addy's asking for that link.
Addy is asking for a link. Okay. Here we go. Invite. Well, he has a login because he's an... Addy has a login because he's an admin. Can you send me the link? Invite link. I'm seeing nothing, anything. Okay. Share. Hang on. Invite. I'm sending you an invite link. Copy. And I'm sending Addy an invite link. Here we go. There we go. And hopefully we'll be joined by Addy any second now. And that will give me a second to go fix this other thing that I know is going to wind up being a problem, which is the other video that I wanted to share. So while we're waiting for Addy, I will do that. And it's a Richard Werner slide. Okay, so let's delete this, remove this from the studio, move this onto the desktop. Sorry, we're not being very professional tonight here, folks. It's good to see you all, though. Yeah, John Renner is saying you can't believe what you see with your own eyes. And yeah, so we're going to go through this video of this guy, Dan, in Russia, who I want to believe. I want to believe that he's honest and he's straight, you know, he's just a regular guy. And I want to explain why I even have doubts about Dan here. Okay, so share video file, and we're going to get Richard Werner queued up, and then I'll be right back to where I was.
Characterize.
Okay, I'm going to remove that, and that one is still working. All right, so while we're waiting for Addy, I'm going to play Dan.
Speaking English, and we learn English by old American movies.
So so this is an endearing thing. We learn English by watching old American movies. Okay, I am not saying that this guy is Russian propaganda, and I want to believe that he's not Russian propaganda. And I see Addy. Addy's getting in here. So
Hey,
hello, Addy.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Excellent. I don't know what was going on. I logged in and no broadcaster showing at all, so I was confused.
Well, Tracy was using the StreamYard yesterday for something, so maybe some setting got changed. I didn't check when I came in. I just assumed everything was normal. So.
Oh, well, that's all right. I'm here now, so.
Yep.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. How you?
Yeah.
So
I'm doing well.
You're in DC, right?
No, I just got back to New York, actually. I'm tired and hungry, though, to be honest.
Okay. All right.
But that's okay.
Okay, so we'll try to be succinct. This won't be a 3-hour show.
Yeah, we can go an hour. Hour's good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, in your absence, I was trying to get into the whole fake news of it today. And I had a really interesting kind of conversation with a Ukrainian woman that follows me named Alla on Twitter. And I kind of, at one point, it seemed like it was going to get a little testy. So I took it into DMs and, you know, I had a conversation with her. But the reason I'm bringing that up is just because I've been, the last couple of days, been seeing all this news coming out of Ukraine and Russia, and my standard kind of response has been to quote tweet it with the word maybe, because
I saw that. Yeah, that was funny.
Because it just seems like there's so much stuff that, and what I wanted to kind of go over tonight is like what my flags are for looking at stuff and saying, yeah, I don't know if I believe that or not, because there's a lot of confirmation bias or bias confirmment going on right now, where people are seeing something that they want to believe, and so they're liking it and they're retweeting it and they're saying, can you believe this? And can you believe this is probably where they should start. But before they retweet it and like it. But
yeah, non-rhetorically asking that question, I think, is it's not. That's a good idea. It's a great idea.
Right. So the reason I'm showing this video is that I found this video today. It's got I think it went up yesterday. It's got 2.8 million views. It's this guy Dan who lives in Russia, and he's driving around his town, which I think is near the Black Sea, and he's going into gas stations and looking at the prices of gas in Russia. And so what I think I'm going to do, so he's driving along with his family. And again, there's all of these things in it that, like, if I was building a propaganda campaign and I wanted to win the hearts and minds of the target audience, I would do all of the things that Dan is doing. Dan may be a completely authentic guy, and this may be a completely authentic video, but there's certain things about it that kind of like, make my spidey senses go up. So at the beginning here, he's driving in his car, and he says, and here, I'll just start it from the beginning.
Hi guys, adorables.
He calls people adorables because okay.
For new friends, we are simple Russian family. Our dream is speaking English, and we learn English by old American movies. In this,
okay, so that's a cool story, right? He's learning English by watching old. It's very endearing, right? It makes you want to have him come sit in your house and have a cup of tea or something, right? It's like he seems like a very authentic, friendly, lovely human being, right?
video we are going to show you actual prices on gasoline in Russia. Let's go.
Okay, he's got a whole series of videos that are like 4 years old where he shows what you can afford in Russia, what an apartment costs in Russia, and he goes through his monthly expenses and what a house costs. And then he got married, then he had a baby, then he had a house, then he moved into a house, and he has a whole video about how much it costs to live in Russia. It's very affordable in Russia. It's like according to Dan here. So he's going to the gas stations. He's driving around his little town. He kind of looks like, I don't know, he lives near the Black Sea.
We are going to show you different prices on 3 different gasoline stations, because in Russia we have 3 popular gasoline stations, and the prices a little different.
All right, so I'm going to see if I can skip ahead to where we actually, right here we get to the gasoline stations. Right.
Now I am going to translate these prices to USA gallons, because we use liter system. These prices in liters in Russia. Okay guys, prices in this gasoline station. 92 octane gasoline price 49.3 cents for 1 liter. Price in USA dollars. I know that in Canada and Great Britain you use liter system. In USA you use gallon system. So for USA people, $1.8 for 1 gallon. It is for 92.
All right, I'm not going to go through the whole 17-minute video, but because basically he goes to a bunch of gas stations and gas is really cheap in Russia. That's the long and the short of the story. But the reason that it made me kind of peak up is because my buddy Mike Waller over at the Center for Security Policy was tweeting out earlier today that the real tactical psychological warfare game is to kind of figure out a way to split Putin off from the population of Russia, right? To depopularize him. And I was watching that video with Dan today, and I was thinking, well, this is a really dangerous thing for the status quo government, for the deep state and the people who are controlling the United States. Because what this is saying is like, as I'm, right down the street, the gas is $6.19 a gallon at the closest gas station to my house right now. And this guy's driving around Russia, and it's $1.80 or $2 a gallon. If you keep watching the video, also you'll see that they have 95 and 100 octane gas at different gas stations. I haven't seen 100 octane. There was one gas station that used to, like, where everybody would fill up their Porsche Carreras and their Lamborghinis here in Santa Monica. But that hasn't been there for years. So good morning, good evening, everyone. Shall we play a game? Yes, we should do all of this stuff. So anyway, so I was watching Dan's video, and I can put a link to the video below if you guys haven't found it. And but the idea is actually the name of the title, if you want to go looking for it, is Gasoline Prices in Russia After Sanctions 2022. That video's got 2.8 million views. And I look at it, and I look at the guy, and I look at the quality of his channel and stuff, and like he seems like a good, honest guy, right? But 2.8 million views, like, what's pushing that?
Yeah.
It just makes my spidey senses go up. And like I said, if I wanted to disenfranchise the people of the United States from the government of the United States, that's a really good video. That makes the Russians seem completely rational and rational. Makes them seem rational. Anyway,
When you say it paints them in a positive light, in a way.
Well, I mean, it's the guy's got.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
what do you mean by that?
Well, it seems like life is very kind of sustainable there. Like the prices of things seem reasonable as far as the ability to maintain a standard of living. And I think that's kind of the story that this guy claims to be poor. He can't pronounce the word poor, which is endearing and cute, right? I think he says poor. I'm poor. He talks about the prices of things. But you look at that, and then the natural tendency is to kind of compare whatever your cost of living is, what his cost of living is, and you look at him and you think, well, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I could do better than that, but holy cow, that house didn't cost very much money, and holy cow, he drives a car, and I think he claims that he gets like 58 miles per gallon at the end of that video.
Wow.
And he says it's the least expensive car that poor people drive in Russia. And I was looking at it, I was going, the poor people that I know in Los Angeles, they're living on the street and doing crack. So, he's doing okay, So by comparison, a lot of these things are interesting.
Yeah, I saw some campgrounds in DC with tents, near tunnels and bridges and such.
Yeah, tell me about your trip, because you went to go see the truckers today, right?
Yes, today and yesterday. It was somewhat unplanned today because they weren't very loose-lipped about if they're actually going to DC or not, and then they ended up going on the Beltway. They did 2 loops, which took, I don't know, a couple hours, hour and a half. I actually don't know how long it took, but I got the tail end of it when I was in Bethesda, Maryland, and that was today. But then yesterday I did go to the Speedway at Hagerstown, Maryland, and that's kind of their fallback position, it seems, as far as being just outside DC. So I don't think they're going to go downtown, which is probably a good decision strategically and tactically, but nonetheless, it makes it more difficult to cover because I was, staying downtown, so it would have been, I could have walked to cover it, but because of this, we had to drive. So it ended up working out, though. Reed Coverdale went with us, and it was
So
good.
did you talk to any of the leaders of the?
I didn't.
No?
I was there, just that evening, and I'm sure they were around, but I didn't bump into them. I bumped into some other YouTubers and podcasters and stuff. So this guy Oreo Express, I think is his name. I talked to a guy from that channel, and Kriston T. Harris from the Rundown Live was there. I write for that outlet out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then Ford Fisher was there of News to Share. So we actually hung out in the evening after things
So,
kind of ended.
so what's your assessment of the trucker convoy protest? Is it a bust?
Is it a bust? Yeah, I was actually having that discussion with somebody earlier today, and you could say that it was anticlimactic or a bust, but nobody's gotten arrested, nobody's died, so that's maybe a trade-off.
but nobody has gotten on the news either. I mean,
well, oh yeah, there you go. I mean, that's what I'm trying to ameliorate that problem. I don't know how well I did though. I was surprised at the views that I got on the videos. It was asserted too with somebody I was talking to that they are suppressing this, any coverage of this. Although someone, I think, did mention that Fox News mentioned it very briefly. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Well, here's the thing though. Like, the truckers in Ottawa created a situation where the news had to cover them. Like, they put themselves in a place where it was impossible for the news not to cover them. And one of the big questions that I had first of all, it took the American truckers about 2.5 weeks to respond. That is, for the KDKA in Pittsburgh covered it this morning for about 30 seconds. Yeah, right. So a radio station covers it for 30 seconds, right? One of the things that I learned in my public affairs career is that, your messaging has to be right and your timing has to be right. And the place that you do whatever it is that you do has to be right. Like, those things all have to mesh. And if they don't, you don't make news, right? So simply having a truck convoy in the United States of America it's easy unless they actually go do something. Like, the Canadians effectively shut traffic down, or they brought traffic to a complete halt in the capital city of Canada. That's impossible to ignore. By waiting weeks and weeks and weeks to get the thing organized, and then taking another week to get there, and then continually changing their schedule and their purpose, it sounds like they're kind of like a chicken without a head or something. It's like, what are they doing? And in fact, if I had been brought in as a consultant on this, what I would have recommended is that they not go to Washington, D.C., because that's kind of like bending a knee to basically what you're doing is you're going to your dictator and you're saying, oh, please give us our freedom back. Well, dictators don't do that. So what you need to do is you need to create a situation where they can't ignore you. And the United States of America is called the United States of America. It's not. Washington, D.C. is not the only capital in the United States. And I would have picked, I don't know, 10 blue states, or I would have picked California and New York and a few other ones, and gone in and shut those state capitals down, because the federal government wouldn't be able to. State governments can react actually a lot quicker than federal governments in a lot of situations, but it certainly would have made more news and it would have been more effective if they had, shut down California, or if they had shut down New York.
Yeah, sure.
And it would have been easier to do, But that's water under the bridge. And again, like I said, I think that you've got to strike when the iron is hot, as they say. And the fact that they took 2.5 weeks to get it together, and then they're still sitting in Maryland in a parking lot. Is that what you said?
It's at a speedway, or racetrack, basically.
Yeah.
In Hagerstown, Maryland.
And what was the consensus from all of those other journalists that you were hanging out with? What did they say?
Ford Fisher said that the size of the convoy more or less stayed the same, as far as he could tell from California.
So it didn't grow and get bigger and bigger as it went across the country?
Didn't sound like it. It sounded like it would stayed about the same. So for whatever reason, Hagerstown isn't even close to DC. It's Chris Fusco. Yeah, it was about 90 minutes, 100 minutes, depending on traffic. So not too. Reed slept in the car on the way. I think I'm on the way there and back. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was good. It was, like I said, nothing bad happened in that sort of January 6th sense. But yeah, maybe a bit anticlimactic. That's a good idea. I think you had there, Peter, where you bring it to the state rather than federal level, and that way you still make a splash at a capital or multiple capitals, but you aren't dealing with, Washington D.C.
Yeah, and their National Guard mentality, and it would have been like if they had driven all the way, if they had gotten to the outskirts of Washington D.C. and then veered off and gone up to New York and shut New York down or done something else like that.
Hey, maybe they're watching. That's what we're here for.
Buy me a cup of coffee in that case. I signed up for Buy Me a Coffee, Addy. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's excellent.
So go on.
So people can support us both on Buy Me a Coffee.
Indeed. So what else? So there was the truckers. Did you have any other insights into that, or is that just kind of where they're at right now?
Yeah, it was definitely a MAGA-heavy crowd for sure, which I think for someone like myself was a bit disappointing, but not really surprising. And it was pretty smooth, I would say. There was the grandstands that people would sit in as people made speeches. They had free food, I believe, as well. They did ask for donations, and about, I think Reed estimated 50 trucks, if I recall correctly. So
50.
I want to say he said 50. Don't quote me on that.
Didn't the Canadian?
I got that wrong, Reed. I think he told me last night.
Didn't the Canadians have like 7,000?
They had 50,000, didn't they? Wasn't that it? It was a lot. I don't know. It was a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was like
all of them. Wasn't it the whole nation basically?
It seemed like it was there was a consensus there. So so this, like I said, this American trucker thing just seems like a complete bust. So
people are afraid, I think. Don't you think, after January 6th, or no?
Right, which is why you have to be clever and not just copy what somebody else did. It's like telling a joke twice. It's
sure.
It doesn't really work. Like
it's just like warfare doesn't devolve back to a previous state.
Right.
That's another way to look at it.
So if the American truckers wanted to get together, that would be great. Like I still believe that the probably the ultimate show of force in a peaceful way that the world could do to show the New World Order that we're not going to take it is some kind of a general strike, like planet-wide.
Yeah. It was 50,000. I was right about that. And that seems to be a conservative estimate. So that's a lot.
Right.
A lot bigger than
than 50
American. Yeah. Well, there was, as I understand, like multiple contingencies, one coming from Miami, one from Maine, and then this one from California.
It's too bad that none of them should have left their states. They should have all just shut down.
I covered it, so I wasn't the one calling the shots, and whoever that is.
And where do people find your reporting?
Yeah, that was mostly on Twitter, and that's honestly where I've been doing a lot of my 2-minute drills. That was the constraint, was 2 minutes and 20 seconds, but I might do a longer stream on it. It wasn't like completely something that warranted a whole lot of analysis, like any other piece of investigative journalism that's a little bit more long-winded or in depth. It was just covering a rally, so in that sense, it's got a lot of live stream capability and day of, I think, value. But so you think the location was wrong? You listed that criteria. Can you list that again? The one that I thought on the first time you mentioned that was place seemed to be the one that is the hardest to get down.
It's message, time, and place. Okay?
Okay.
The message always has to be contextual to what's going on. Okay, and it's got to be clever. Okay. So Black Lives Matter, really clever. Okay, it's really clever because it causes cognitive dissonance. Okay.
Yeah, explain that, Peter. Explain that to me. I'm not very smart.
Well, you can't. It's a tautology. You can't argue against it without falling into this Kafka trap, right? Where if you don't think Black Lives Matter, then it means you're a white supremacist or you're a racist or something. And like that,
Sure.
There's a great scene. There's a great movie called Best of Enemies about William F. Buckley and Gore Vidal, and live television was just being invented for politics, and Gore Vidal and William F. Buckley were having a live debate every night for like 7 minutes on ABC television. It was ABC's first political convention that they were doing, the ABC News, and Gore Vidal called at the height of the tensions between the two of them. Gore Vidal called William F. Buckley a crypto-Nazi, and that what he did. Buckley is a reason-based arguer. That is, you give him an argument, and then he will use reason to deconstruct whatever it is that you just said, and then come back with with an answer to whatever it is that you just said. But Vidal gave him made an emotional attack on him that he couldn't possibly defend in the amount of time that live television was giving him to respond. And he realized he was in a trap. And when he realized he was in a trap, he flipped out. And on live television, he told Gore Vidal that if he said that again, or I can't remember the exact quote, but he basically said, I'm gonna knock you out, and you're not gonna get up. And he said that on live television, live network television. So
what did he ask him? Do you recall?
No, Gore Vidal called William F. Buckley a crypto-Nazi.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
And
okay, that was the epithet. Okay.
Yeah, and you'll stay plastered, I think, is the thing. So why am I bringing that up? Because you asked me a question, and that's why. Because we were talking about the three things. We were talking about messaging.
Yeah. What's the most important one? Is it?
Well, it doesn't. It's like it's a three-legged stool. If you don't have all three, it doesn't work at all. So,
sure.
So the timing has to be good. Whatever the event is that you're doing, whatever the stunt is that you're doing, whether or not you're putting posters up someplace or you're having protesters show up with holding signs, or you're, whatever it is that you're winding up doing, the timing has got to be right. You've got to make sure that. Okay, so let's say that you're trying to shut down a Capitol someplace, right? You need to make sure that everybody is at the Capitol. You need to make sure that everybody's at the Capitol at a time when they're causing the most amount of disturbance to whatever it is that they're trying to disturb, because if they show up there at 3 o'clock in the morning, nobody cares, right? So if there's a Supreme Court case, then you need to be there when the Supreme Court is about to make their decision, right? Not that protests ever affect the Supreme Court, because I don't believe that they do. The messaging, and this is part of the reason that I know that 9/11, or not 9/11, that January 6th was not a insurrection, is the messaging was all over the place. It was Trump flags and MAGA and Make America Great. No, that's not calling for any kind of direct response, right? A good message connotes some expectation from, Black Lives Matter was defund the police.
These people need to give up the Trump thing. They need to give it up. Whoever's listening, just give it up.
Yeah,
we're waiting on you.
Yeah,
we are the rest of humanity. In fact,
right.
Give it up.
Yeah, unfortunately, those people need another, hero They need it's the dialectic thing that we get
I
involved
vote
in.
for Peter Duke.
And Chris Fusco actually was calling me out this week because he was having some issues with the way that I am using. He claims that I'm using the communist or the Marxist definition of the word dialectic, and I realize that dialectic is a word that gets used in a lot of different situations in different ways. So just to be specific, the way that I'm using it, because Aristotle said the dialectic is the highest form of intelligence, because when two people like Addy and Peter are having a conversation about something, that it elevates, the conversation. I understand that. But this is not the way that I'm using the word dialectic. When I use the word dialectic, I mean splitting the world of ideas, or the world, let's say, splitting the world of solutions to a problem into, or combining the solution. I'll start again. Combining the world of problems, combining the world of solutions to problems into only two solutions. Okay? There is a Democrat solution and there is a Republican solution. There is a red or a blue, or a conservative or a liberal, or a left or a right. There's a million ways to solve any problem. And when we reduce the world of solutions down to two, we're eliminating a world of solutions. And so I think that the dialectic, in the way that I'm using it, which is basically boiling anything down to, so you know that you're being manipulated whenever someone starts a sentence this way. There's two ways to think about this, right?
Right.
If
Yes,
somebody starts a sentence, there are two ways to think about this. Okay, they're either deliberately or not understanding that that's hypnosis. You're using it in the Hegelian sense. Okay, great. I'm using it in the Hegelian sense.
Yeah, Hegelian dialectic. Yeah, where it's
Right.
like team sports basically.
Okay, but why the hiss? But why the hiss? I don't
Zero
understand.
sum.
Yeah. So
Zero sum.
right,
it's
and
a
so
zero sum concept.
so the thing about Trump, to your point, is
Yes.
that people think that Trump is the only other choice. I mean, I've unregistered to vote. And part of the reason that I unregistered to vote is because I want to put myself out of the mindset of having to choose between one of those two things. And
Right.
that doesn't mean that I might not re-register if I think the system's not rigged anymore, but I think it's rigged, and I think participating in a rigged system is, a waste of time.
Yeah, I was talking about this the other night because we were talking about our political backgrounds a bit, and I think I'm still a registered Democrat, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but
Well, do you get
that's-
mail from Nancy Pelosi asking you for money? That's how you know if you're a Democrat.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I do not. No, thank God. She probably would post with like some of her pinup photos on it or something.
Oh man, now you're putting pictures in my head I don't want.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Pelosi in general is not someone people like to picture if they know what's going on.
Anyway, so the dialectic. I don't
Yes.
I don't like things that are boiled down to two anymore. I think it's a manipulation, and I don't care if one of your favorite blue check people who you follow does it or anybody else. In researching and going back, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams thought that, it feels good, doesn't it? It's kind of like a giant weight has been lifted off your shoulders. It's like, I don't have to have that argument anymore. And I love the expression on people's faces when they say, oh, you must be a Trump supporter. And I go, I'm not even registered to vote. They're like, what? But what were we saying?
I need to do the same. Is what I was.
What I was saying is that Jefferson, Madison, and Adams, thought that the way the American public would work is that, and this is C. Wright Mills that I'm quoting, we'd all get together and we'd make a decision about what we want, and then we would get someone elected and send them to Congress, or we would all get together and go to our congressman's office, and our congressman would represent us, like, Mr. Smith goes to Washington or something like that. And then, Surprise, surprise, who's the first person who creates a political party in the United States? Alexander Hamilton, you know. And at which point, you know, Jefferson probably feels like, oh, well, if he's going to start a party, then we better counter him by starting another party. And so very soon, like after the Constitution is ratified, these, you know, the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans show up. And it's funny because if you watch the show John Adams, the miniseries, Jefferson's party is referred in that series as the Republicans, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't think that the Republican Party wasn't even really that. They were the Democratic Republicans. They weren't the Republicans.
Sure. Well, in the Spanish Civil War, it was the Republicans versus the fascists, in the sense of a republic, right?
Yeah.
Someone who wants a republic as opposed to a fascist state.
Correct.
Which was what they got for many years under Franco.
Well, it's what we got.
There's this great movie. I can't remember what it's called, and we'll get to our situation in a
For
second here.
For Whom the Bell Tolls, maybe? Was it
where he's deaf? He's like
Ernest
deaf?
Hemingway? Is it Ernest Hemingway movie or?
No.
No.
It's no. I'm not Hemingway. It was recently made. It was about this deaf guy in the Civil War, and he has to go into hiding. It's a great movie. I can't remember what it's called. It might just be called Deaf, actually, but I think it was on Netflix. But yeah, just making the point with regards to the fascist state versus the Republicans, who, as Peter mentioned, and myself, are in favor of a republic. But you mentioned our fascist state, Peter.
Well, yeah, because you know, if you look at the definition, the kind of textbook definition of fascism, not the way that it's used colloquially as like racist, anti-Semite, totalitarian, the economic basis of fascism is a public-private partnership. And so, and if you realize that the status quo power structure of the world is this global public-private partnership, and I didn't make this up, I'm quoting Catherine Austin Fitts. If you understand that the power structure of the world is based on this global public-private partnership, then we're the global elite, you know, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, the secret societies that run the World Economic Forum, that essentially it's a fascist organization. The difference, the difference, and Sundance over the Conservative Treehouse has written a couple of articles based on conversations that I had with him about that. And and the idea is that you know, during the 30s and the 40s, the fascists were telling the oligarchs what to do. They were from the government side. So you had the public-private partnership. The public was the government. The private was the corporations. And the you know, Hitler and Mussolini were telling Hirohito were telling the businesses what they were going to do. After World War II. I think that what Klaus Schwab wound up doing was flipping that formula. So it was like, there's nothing wrong with fascism. The only thing that's wrong with fascism is that the governments shouldn't be telling the corporations and the banks what to do. The corporations and the banks should be telling the governments what to do. And so I think that that's the actual world that we live in now. And so the reason I think elections are kind of fake is because I think that when you have as much money as the global elites have, and because they control the banks, they control things like the Federal Reserve and every country in the world, then they have the ability to finance whatever candidates that they want to have. It's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine who's running for Board of Supervisors in Los Angeles today, and like
Alexander told you, Nitson.
Yeah, I cannot see it.
That's good.
I cannot see it. I told my buddy, my friend who's running for supervisor, you know, she told me that there's a limit. You can only spend $250,000 as a candidate. And I said, yeah, but there's no limit on the super PACs. And she goes, oh, no, one of the people I'm running against has a super PAC that's already going to spend $2.5 million. So the super PACs are going to spend, you know, 10 times whatever the campaign spending limit is. So this is what I'm talking about. It's like, if you have enough money, I mean, I've seen estimates and depending upon who you read, that the global elites control, I don't know, $400 trillion.
Wow.
That's the amount of interest that they've collected on all the money that they've loaned to all of the governments in the last, since probably Bretton Woods. So
Bretton Woods?
Bretton Woods, which is after World War II, is when the United States and the United Nations got together and figured out how they were going to recapitalize the world, create the economy. And that's essentially when the dollar became the reserve currency for the world. And ever since then, the central banks, well, actually since 1913 in the United States with the Federal Reserve Bank, but, for every dollar that's lent to the government, there's interest on that dollar. So there's more than a dollar owed back to the bank. So the more money they print, so it just becomes a hole that gets deeper and deeper and deeper. There's no way to actually ever pay it back. And that's by design.
Right. Fractional reserve banking. Isn't that what it's called?
Fractional reserve banking is how they create money by lending it into existence. But
so
I'm talking about the money that gets loaned to the government. So there's money that gets loaned to, you go to the bank, you want to buy a car, you get a loan, you pay this excessive interest. A car loan is cheaper than a credit card, but it's still a lot more money than the bank pays for the money. And depending upon who the bank is and how close they are to the Federal Reserve, then they have a lower and lower interest rate.
Right. Yes.
So,
but it's a similar idea in that it's a never-ending debt hole, right?
It's a never-ending debt hole, and it's a never-ending debt hole on purpose. So,
right.
But the interest, so the government winds up having an unsustainable debt that can never be paid back, and it's guaranteed by the faith and credit of you and me. Okay, so Joe Biden spends it, Nancy Pelosi spends it, you and I pay it back. That's the way that's the way it works. They shovel it over to Jeff Bezos with his CIA contract, or to Elon Musk with his SpaceX contract and his his black space program that he also shoots up with his Starlink satellites, right? So they shovel our government cash over to these guys, and they create these guys as oligarchs. Bill Gates and Mark Andreessen and all these guys, they take technology that's ostensibly created by DARPA, and it gets leaked out into Silicon Valley or Seattle, and then gets spread out, put out into the market as an IPO, and then the guys in DC or Maryland or Virginia, wherever they live, they all have founder shares in all of these internet startups, so they all become wealthy, right? And
that's what they did with Dynology, I think.
Yeah, Dynology. The thing is about Dynology and what's his name?
James Jones.
No, Jim Jones was Dynology, and then the whistleblower guy who's was on George's show all the time.
Oh, Patrick Berge?
Yeah, Berge. Is that the thing is about that, and the reason I never got that wound up about it is that there's 100 companies like that.
Right.
Like, he kept talking about how the United States military paid for this weapon and it's being used against American people, and it's all true. It's all true, but what's also true is that there's 100 other companies doing it too. So,
yes,
because
just the one.
It's not just the one. Okay, because guess what? It's not a. You can go into Google right now and you can type in build a Twitter botnet with Google Sheets. Okay, and there are ways. I don't know if it still works because Twitter keeps changing their API and it may change, but I can tell you that during the 2015-2016 campaign, there were ways to just take a Google Sheet and paste a script into it, and you could run a botnet. You could run 1,200 identities on Twitter. Now, what Dynology did was that they added some AI. They sprinkled some AI on it so that one person could handle a lot more Twitter accounts than just a normal person. But that none of that technology is rocket science, and none of that is that hard to implement. And I think that, you know, I understand where Bergie's heart is, but I think that it would probably be a lot more pragmatic and practical to just get people to understand what a bot looks like when somebody's raising your blood pressure on Twitter.
Right. Yeah, you get these accounts that are following like 6 people, and they don't have an avatar that shows their face, or it shows someone
It's got
else's
some weird
face.
name and 7 numbers at the end, you know?
Right. There you go. Yeah, it's got a bunch of numbers after some like just random first name. But comment here from Truth Hunter: may propose a We the People party in 2 simultaneous locations, Silicon Valley and Silicon Alley. Big tech is the tool used against us at all levels, and they have been untouched. I want to say about that, I was thinking about this today, and I think it was the first time I've had this thought, unless I'd had it before and just forgot about it. But in terms of making the change, maybe journalism isn't the best way to do that, and it's actually to be good at making technology, you know, because that's really what the levers are, I think, is the technological capability to have a platform like YouTube. It's really only a few people that have that access, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
Can you frame that as a question?
Do you think that like technology and engineering is a better way to change the world for the better in the pursuit of truth and revelation of corruption at the state level?
I think that I want to if you could put that guy's comment back up again, I'd like to talk
Sure.
about it. I think technology is a tool. Okay, and you can use a hammer to build a house, or you can use it to kill somebody.
Right.
And so I just look at I look at technology as a tool. The Harvard Business School definition of technology is a process or an invention for doing something better than you could do it before. And so I think that's kind of a neutral thing. What I think is when it's used as a psychological warfare weapon, which it clearly is at this point. Then we need a digital book. I mean, so Truth Hunter says, may I propose that we use a We the People party in 2 simultaneous locations, Silicon Valley, Silicon Alley. Big tech is the tool used against us on all levels, and they have been untouched. Sort of. I kind of agree with this, but somebody was saying to me the other day, they didn't think that the rights guaranteed in the Constitution were exclusive to America. And my answer back to them was, that's true. But we're the first country that was founded with the idea that those rights were sovereign, right? And so to your point, I mean, the thing is about the We the People party, I can probably support a We the People movement. The nature of crowds is that they're usually natural leaders, and but I think that what we've gotten away from, getting back to the dialectic argument, is that what C. Wright Mills points out is that what we've lost is the conversations. And Rusty Rockets, Russell Brand talks about this all the time too. Is that we've lost the ability to have conversations about how to solve problems. Because the way that you solve a problem is you vote Republican or you vote Democrat, and that's not going to solve a problem. If you look at the Bill of Rights, and if you look at the Declaration of Independence, then you need to make sure that the government is doing that. And where the people, capital T, capital P, have failed miserably in the execution of the Constitution, is that it's up to the people to defend it. And it started getting dismantled very early with Marbury versus Madison and the Supreme Court doing a power grab early, and becoming the settler of all arguments, which I don't think was the way that it was originally
Sure.
presented. And so, but back to the first thing that we need to do is we need to start having conversations again, and we need to build networks of cohorts, people that
Yes.
are like-minded. And when I say like-minded, it's not like we all like to wear red hats. It's like, what does the red hat mean? Okay. What?
Red hats or purple, galoshes, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. The idea is that those things mean something. Okay, I've said for 5 years, if we take control of the CIA, its tentacles and stock markets would tank. No, you can't take control of the CIA. You have to destroy it utterly and completely. Okay, the CIA is the cudgel that the globalists use. The CIA was written and created by the globalists in the United States of America. Okay, it has never fulfilled the original mission that Truman was fooled into believing that it was set up for, and it's a crime. It's a color of law. In fact, they're above color of law, right? They're extra.
Extra legal. Yeah.
It's extra. The CIA is extra legal. I mean, Comey is above color of law, but I mean, it's color of law. But
so is his daughter, apparently.
Yeah. Look, this system doesn't work. Okay, and the first thing to realize is that we're run. The world is run by gangsters. Trump is a gangster. Biden is a gangster. Putin is a gangster. These guys are all out of a Coppola movie, right? And we're running around thinking that we have a democracy, and we don't. We have we have something else. We have a plutocracy. I think
so.
And so the CIA is a creation of a government that didn't work. I'm sorry to say that. I love the Constitution. I believe in everything that's written in the Constitution. It doesn't work. Saying that you want to fix the government from the inside is like saying is like saying my car has a broken axle, so I need to drive it to the mechanic to get it fixed. It's got
what we need, Peter?
A tow truck.
What we need?
What do we need, Addy?
We need a Night's Watch, someone who is dedicated to the nation. Outside of the
you mean
scope
Batman?
Of financial, same idea, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's someone who's like doesn't have a financial stake in it, and there's like a higher principle to it, to the point where they only step in if they feel as if the politicians have made things so bad, or the government employees have made things so bad that they need to step in and
okay, so it scares the crap out of me when you say that, Addy.
Yeah,
is that I think that's exactly what they're setting Elon Musk up for right now. Because if you take a look at Elon Musk's, okay, so Elon Musk is arguably the wealthiest man in the world, right?
I think you're right now. Now he is.
And there isn't one company that he's ever started that didn't come out of DARPA. Right? Sure. So, and I can go on and on about this, but he's tweeting out all of these populist tweets. He's tweeting, he's the new Trump on Twitter.
Yeah, sure. Yes, I like that. He's a new Trump.
Okay.
2016 or 2017.
Right. And so we know he can't run for president because he's South African. He's not an American citizen, right? Mm-hmm. And so my thought is what they're doing is they're setting him up the same way that they set Trump up for 4 or 5 years before they ran him for president, right? He's going to become Bruce Wayne, right? or
Tony Stark.
Tony Stark,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And he's the technic. Yeah, exactly. We both hit it at the same time.
we did it again.
Yeah, he's the technocrat's Trump, right? And, you know, he sent all of the Starlinks over to Ukraine, and he had a Starlink video call with Zelensky, and it's like all this warm and fuzzy stuff. And, you know, it's so happy horse shit, right? It's just all designed to get people to go, oh, yeah, Musk, he's the greatest guy in the world. And he just wants people to be happy and free. And, you know,
That voice imitation.
in the meantime, if you read the whistleblower reports coming out of the Tesla factory, and they're taking billions of dollars of scrap metal and selling it on the black market, or doing all kinds of other crazy. I can't even remember what the story is, but there was a whistleblower story from the Tesla plant. I
may have to check that out. I was speaking of Mr. Musk. Oh man,
Yeah.
I don't think I did a video on it. I wish I did. I don't know what happened. I think I filmed it and then I didn't refilm it.
Yeah, there were a bunch of videos. Apparently, the mega factory has, because it's so big that, like, when they're putting batteries, when they're putting the cabling in for the batteries for all of the cars, they connect them together with copper wire. And apparently, like, Tesla uses more copper wire than any company in the world. And when they're trimming the wires, they have the wire trimmings, right? So they have the copper, you know, just little pieces of wire that get trimmed off the
leftovers.
Well, when you're making as many batteries as they make, it's like 160 tons a year or something of trimmed copper wire. And apparently somebody was embezzling it or something. It was being taken out as waste, and then it was being sold on the copper market. And so there was this whole kind of like, and the news of that story came out. The whistleblower came out at the same time that earnings reports were coming out, and Musk was he was trying to tamp it down. He didn't want the news to come out. He didn't want to file charges.
Right. He was trafficking copper. He was copper trafficking.
Well, it wasn't even that somebody was stealing from him. Somebody was stealing from Tesla, like $150 million a year and stuff. But he didn't. The story was worth more than $150 million in the value of Tesla's stock. That is, if the story had come out and become a thing, it would have lowered the stock value. And so it was more important to not prosecute these people. At least that's the way the story reads. So, you know, there's all kinds of shenanigans that are going on all the time.
Yeah, or the government just took all that.
Yeah. Or it was a payoff, that it was some under the table deal that was made. It was like, yeah, you know what? We'll call it waste, and you take it, and then that's your payoff for the. That's it. It's money laundering, right? Using copper to do money laundering. So,
what I was going to say about Musk is, you may have heard about this. I think he's 19. He was a freshman in college. He created a bot on Twitter that tracks Musk's personal plane, and Musk offered him $5,000 to take it down, and he rejected him, and he said offer more, and then I don't know if he gave a new offer, but he wouldn't take it down. So I was just pointing it out as like citizen open source public intelligence, like great example, avant-garde example of some 18 or 19-year-old tracking this Bruce Wayne character, and this Bruce Wayne character trying to pay the kid off, and the kid's basically saying no, you know, on seemingly a principle of sorts, or just the fact that he wants to keep tabs on Musk. Who knows? He might sell out and say yes at some point.
Okay, so what is RT3 Box 6 Texas? I didn't mean to trigger you. Take control. I don't know what I was. Did I get triggered? I don't remember. I don't know what that was about. I mean, one of the things, context is really important in these chat messages, because
if you like miss them and you can't remember what you're talking about at the time that the comment comes through.
Yeah,
it can be difficult to put it into context, for sure.
Yeah, I want to. Before you got on, Addy, before either one of us got on, it's interesting because we're talking about fake news. It's like this person, screen name Rose Belizia, said,
Okay.
see what George Galloway just said, REWMD, on Russian-Ukraine border. That wasted like 10 minutes of my time. I went and I went to go look at it. It's an unconfirmed story. And like, the name of the channel. No. Yeah. There, you clicked on it, I see. Yeah, I just wasted 10 minutes of my life. I went and I looked at it. It's unconfirmed. Like, don't post anything on here that's unconfirmed. Just do us all a favor, because unconfirmed stuff is it. Yeah, and Hugh's saying that Duke Report is the best. Thank you, Hugh. The Duke Report is something that I've been working on I launched it about 3 weeks ago. It's a website, and it's got lots of sources. And the one thing that all of those sources have in common, or at least I try to make sure that they do, is that they are all evidence-based journalism. So people go out and they actually find stuff that's real, and then they write stories about it. As opposed to, so you're not going to see any kind of Breitbart fanboy. Sometimes Tucker Carlson shows up, but I'm not following Tucker Carlson on the Duke Report. So anyway, evidence-based stuff.
Follow the Duke Report at thedukereport.com.
Yeah, which might be a good segue to like some of the slides. Some of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight were like my maybe thread, right? So people.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I gotta jet in a few minutes here.
Okay. All right. So I'll try to make this quick.
Okay.
So this is a conversation that I started. This is the last thing. So Alla Kovic, I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Okay. Yep.
She's a young Ukrainian woman, and she lives here in the United States someplace, and she got kind of triggered because she's been posting a lot of this Ukrainian play-by-play that's been coming out on social media, and my reaction to almost all of it, whether it's coming from the Russian side or coming from the Ukrainian side, is maybe, because. Okay, so Ukraine is a country with 44 million of people, and saying their voice and desire to be in the EU doesn't matter is looking bad on Russian influencers. Well, I'm not sure that 44 million people are saying their desire is to be in the EU. I mean, probably, and is it looking?
Do you
bad?
actually think so?
I don't know. Honestly, like I don't know a lot of Ukrainians. It seems like the people in East Ukraine, they like Russia. It seems like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And it seems like the people who don't like Russia in East Ukraine are actual Nazis.
Yes, that's what it seems. It seems to be. Yeah. I was, listening to a few people today to discuss Ukraine and Russia, and it's tough to know for sure what exactly is going on. But Kolomoisky backing Zelensky, and the coup in 2014 conducted by the CIA.
And Kolomoisky. So yesterday, again, I spent an hour and a half on this yesterday. Somebody DM'd me and told me that Zelensky was a WEF Young Global Partner, Young Global Leader. They have this whole thing. I tweeted a link to the Wikispooks page where I found all of the data. And I went and I downloaded every single roster of every Young Global Leaders forum that's available on Wikispooks. Wikispooks? Yeah, I think Wikispooks.
Yeah, I like that one. That's a good website.
It's a good site.
Yeah.
And Kolomoisky is a Young Global Leader.
Wow.
So what's his name? Zelensky, I couldn't find him, even though somebody claimed that he was. There's a picture of Zelensky on the World Economic Forum website, but anybody who's ever gone to the World Economic Forum is on that website. So that doesn't mean that he's a member of the Young Global Leaders.
While we're on this topic, I wanted to mention I was on the New Jersey Turnpike, mile marker 55, more or less, and there was a giant LED screen, and it said, "United we stand with Ukraine," with Ukraine's flag colors like being the backdrop.
Right. So
and it was so bizarre.
Yeah,
and so it was just over the top propaganda.
And it was played by Lockheed Martin or Raytheon, General Dynamics, DynCorp. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
So here's fellow trader is Chris Fusco. So Chris Fusco tweeted this out, which is
okay.
like, it's like here's some. This is what I mean by the end of the about the level of propaganda we've been seeing from both Ukraine and Russia. First, my man in the background is alive. He's like, what? And I've seen a couple of these. I've seen a couple of these videos where they're trying to. But second, is this video from a big climate event 2 years ago? Like, so you see these videos, they pop up, right? And SMFH.
Please play this.
It's a screenshot.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sorry, but
I thought I bookmarked it. Let me see if I did. Yes, I did. Okay, I got it. Here, I'll pull
okay.
it up.
Well, okay. I'll take this off and then you can put it up.
Okay, give me a second here, folks. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Check this out.
So we're going to use at least 59 people killed, at least 149 people wounded. Those numbers are going to go up. There's just no question about it. You have fierce fighting in a number of locations around the country. You mentioned Chernobyl. Russian forces quickly overtaking that area. We understand there is still control. The other thing that went down today, that was a
Dude, you gotta lay down, man. You're messing.
15 miles outside of Kyiv, and for a short period of time this afternoon.
This reminds me, I did an event once, and it just goes to show you, like, I did an event once where I designed all the signs, and all the protesters were holding the signs up. One guy wasn't looking at the sign, and it was upside down. So you've got all these protesters. It only takes one person with the upside down sign to make everyone look like a complete idiot, right?
Oh my goodness. I lost it there for a second. That's too funny. We're not. You know what I'm trying to say, right, Peter? You know what I'm trying to say. This is, we're trying to find the truth here, and that's not the truth.
Right, exactly. So I've got some more here. So let me just keep going here. So this rocket hit this building, right? And they're going, the Russian strike hit the National Police building in Kharkiv. And I'm going, I was thinking, wait, weren't the Russian police working with the FBI? And it was a crime unit. Only it was hard to tell whether or not it was a crime unit or a crime unit. You know what I mean? And it was called Naboo. And so when I'm seeing the Russians hitting things, I don't like to see innocent people and buildings of anybody blown up, but I have questions. Why would they hit that building? Maybe they had a good reason for hitting that building. I don't know. Russian troops were extremely irresponsible when they violently seized control of nuclear plants in Ukraine. A former high-ranking U.S. official said. Okay. I saw a lot of different stories about that nuclear power plant. One of them was that the Russians were going around the nuclear power plant and they were trying to avoid the nuclear power plant, and that somebody inside one of the buildings near the nuclear power plant started shooting RPGs at them.
Oh.
I would think that's fairly provocative. If you don't want people to return fire, maybe you shouldn't be shooting RPGs at them when they're trying to go around the nuclear power plant. But who knows? I don't know what the real story is. That's why my comment was maybe. Maybe this is true. This guy Ilya Ponomarenko, he's obviously a Ukrainian, cheerleader. He loves Ukraine, everything about Ukraine. And he makes a lot of bold comments on his Twitter feed, along with a lot of pictures. He says, my fellow townsmen fleeing Volnovaka, sorry if I'm butchering that name, tell me lots of dead bodies are scattering the streets. Russia simply swept the town of 25,000 off. Maybe.
Yeah, I would say probably not, but maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Again, I don't even go to probably not. That's just, Marcus Yam, a Ukrainian soldier takes a drag from his cigarette as his squads brace themselves against incoming artillery fire from Russian forces defending the town of blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you think there's incoming artillery coming in, You're not laying there smoking a cigarette,
Like his band of brothers or something.
right? You're digging a hole, right?
Yeah.
You're digging a hole.
But maybe. You never know.
But maybe, right? It's like, so I see this stuff, right? This made me laugh out loud. Okay. Apparently, if you were again, I don't know if this has anything to do with reality or these pictures are from something completely different, but apparently the story goes that these people were like Russian collaborators, and what they did is that they taped them to poles and then they put signs on them. And somebody said that we should do this in Portland, San Francisco, Seattle, Los Angeles, and New York City.
This is getting like dangerously symbolic of how people are during wartime with traders, you know?
Yeah,
And
exactly. And now you're a traitor if you now you're a traitor if you don't say something bad against the other side, right? Maybe I get taped to a pole for saying maybe.
Maybe.
Russian military vehicles destroyed in the Sumy region. Source, Ukrainian Armed Forces. Okay, here's the thing that's really, really confusing about this war, okay, is that both sides are using the same equipment. Okay, it's Russian tanks versus Russian tanks. It's Soviet versus Soviet stuff. Like, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like Vladimir Putin is bringing in all of his new stuff. He's all of this stuff is like Cold War, Army surplus.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to get rid of old weapons.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to get rid of their old weapon system. So instead of blowing them up on the tank range, they're just going to drive them in. But here's the thing about that. Do you know if this is a Ukrainian tank or a Russian tank?
You don't.
You don't. And if you take a blown up Ukrainian tank and you put a Z on it, does that make it look like a Russian tank? Because the Russians all have the Z painted on their tanks, right?
Right.
So
right. It's yeah.
It becomes
tough to say.
It's
Oh, did I? Sorry, I meant to. Well, brief interruption. I didn't mean to do that right now, but
All right.
Russia apparently finds NATO equipment at the headquarters of Pravi Sector.
Yeah, so people keep talking about like the George
source, dude. Trust me. Then you see this. It's like, you know.
But who's the source?
This
Breaking
is
Russia
news military, #1 source of breaking military news and analysis on Russia.
Yeah, but not blue checked.
Not blue checked. That's probably a good sign, isn't it? Or no?
I don't know. Again, we live in the most. Maybe.
Oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? I wanted to mention too that there was a tweet from this guy, John and Casper. I forgot to mention this. I think it was today with regards to the trucking convoy. They found a budget rental truck that's been jamming phone signals and internet.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to mention yesterday nobody could post or live stream, and nobody could really post either. I posted one video, and the rest I had to do later when I got back into DC. Also, I met Roger Waters, and I interviewed him for a quick minute.
Terrific.
So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question for John and Casper is: did they take the driver of that truck and tape him to a pole?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing too. Is I'm just gonna follow this guy. He's been blowing up though on Twitter a bit here, but yeah, just trying to verify what is really going on and what's not.
Yep. A Ukrainian military depot in Kherson seized by Russian forces.
Okay.
I see a depot.
Yeah.
I don't. One of the things that I was going to say earlier is that one of the things that you see, and I didn't have a bunch of little videos to show, but a lot of these videos, they're shot with an iPhone and they're like moving around and stuff. And it's like they don't establish any time. Like it would be great if you showed a clock or a newspaper or something that had a date on it, or not that people have newspapers anymore, but you could get your buddy to hold up his iPhone that's got the date on it. You know, so you could verify, oh yeah, this was done on Thursday at 2:00.
Yeah.
You know, people
Yeah, because otherwise it's just your word, right? Yeah.
I mean, in the old days when I used to sell film cameras, you could get these cameras that would put a little date stamp in the corner, and I bet you there's an iPhone app, right, that lets you, burn time code, date and time into the corner of your video. That would certainly make it a lot easier to verify, right?
Yeah, definitely.
According to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, as of 6 a.m., Russia has lost about 5,300 soldiers, 29 planes, 29 helicopters, and 151 tanks. Okay, so this he's not linking to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, right?
Yeah, he's just stating this.
No, it's got that little lightning bolt on that, and does that mean that he's retweeted it from Twitter events or something, Twitter highlights? I don't know. But again, I see this stuff all day long, and none of it is cited, none of it is verified, and it's all making it as a statement of fact.
People are blowing up. Some people who are covering Ukraine are blowing up.
Yeah, exactly. By feeding the monster, right? So again, Ilya Ponomarenko, this is how it's done. It's a video of a rocket going in and hitting a tank or hitting a artillery piece. Okay, great. Is that from 2 days ago? Is that from 2014? Like, do you have a date and a time, a place, anything? This is how it's done.
Yeah,
Ukraine. Now this is a blue check. Okay, this is a blue check calling out a blue check.
Blue check's ridiculous.
Okay, the blue check original says all the Polish Air Force MiG-29 aircraft remain at their home base. All the Polish aircraft are marked with Air Force checkerboard, Polish Air Force. And then the Chancellery, I guess, which is the head of the government of the Prime Minister of Poland, says, unfortunately, you are spreading misinformation with a quotation from February 27th, 2022. Poland won't send its fighter jets to the Ukraine, as well as use its airports. We significantly help in many other areas. Maybe we sent them a bunch of Manpad anti-tank missiles or something. All right, and then this is the last one that I've got, which is interesting confidential telegram by then U.S. Ambassador to Russia and now CIA Director William Burns, written in 2008. Now this is from Chris Vesco again. So basically our own government, okay, so this is an example of something that I would pay more attention to, okay, because it's linking to WikiLeaks. So what Chris is saying is, so basically our own government said in 2008 what Putin repeated in his press conference that our government called bullshit.
Yes,
so,
that is apparently so.
Yeah. So
wait, let me read this again. This is basically our own government said in 2008 what Putin repeated in his press conference that are
okay. So Putin said something in his press conference, and our government called it bullshit. But Putin is actually corroborated by WikiLeaks in 2008.
Got you. Okay. I think the diction was a little bit rough there, but okay.
It is, and I make mistakes like that in Twitter all the time. But if you pay Twitter $3 a month, now you can go back and correct it.
Wow, really?
Twitter. Yeah, Twitter has this thing. If you pay $3 a month, they'll let you go back and edit your tweets.
Okay, so Putin corroborated by WikiLeaks.
Yes.
Twitter now allowing revisionist history if you give them money under the table.
And so the reason I wanted to end with this tweet is because this is the kind of tweet that I like to see and I pay attention to, and I'll go click on it and I'll go read that stuff. I'll go read the WikiLeaks because I watched Putin's press conference. I tweeted out a link to it a few days ago. I watched the whole thing. It's 27 minutes long, and so instead of doing what Dave Rubin did, which is that he let Ben Shapiro watch it and then let Ben Shapiro tell him what Putin said, which I found incredibly annoying. Like, it's just go watch it. you know. So anyway, so these are the kinds of things that I like and I look for, and thank you, fellow trader Chris, because this is the kind of stuff that's valuable, you know. The other stuff, not so much.
Definitely. And I think we have Reed Coverdale on the show next week, so
yeah,
that should be good.
From Coverdale Page.
He's the Naturalist Capitalist and the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, I'm
trucker podcaster.
I'm dating my boomer ass. Is what I'm doing. So Coverdale Page was a band with Jimmy Page and David Coverdale.
Oh wow! Okay, excellent. So, and where can people support you, Peter? You got Buy Me a Coffee now, so that's good.
I put Buy Me a Coffee on my Duke Report. So if you go to the Duke Report, so here's what I want people to do. I want people to bookmark the Duke Report, and here's my strategy, my thought, and the reason that I started working on the Duke Report is Addy knows better than most people that getting banned is really lame, right? It's getting deplatformed. It kind of sucks, And the good news is that there's this thing called RSS, Real Simple Syndication, that allows people who publish on Real Simple Syndication platforms to have other people aggregate their content. And there's lots of scammy kind of websites that I found. Somebody sent me a link to a post to a website today that just aggregates other people's content. And then the problem with that is that the people who are originating the content don't get the benefit of it. So I don't make any money doing this right this second. The site is Google free. It doesn't have any Google affiliation. That is, there's no Google AdSense. There's no Google Analytics. There's no Google anything. I do have an analytics package running. It's a privacy oriented analytics package called Matimo, and there's a link on my privacy page to Matimo. And I'm running something called Quantcast so that I can get demographic information on the users. But it's all anonymized, and I don't actually know who anybody is. That said, what I want to do is I want to build traffic, because if I can get enough people, going to this site, then I can start selling the attention. So my goal, Matt Drudge was doing 25 million at his peak, was doing about 25 million page views a day, and I don't. The only thing that I curate on this site right now is who's on it. So, for example, I had Roosh V, who's a commentator, right? But Roosh V stopped doing his podcast. He announced today, so I took Roosh off. There's still a link to Roosh's site on the bottom. Here, let me show the page.
I was surprised you read him, Peter.
Well, I got into him when I started studying hypnosis, because it turns out that the best pickup artists are actually good hypnotists, and they're doing hypnosis in a practical way. That is, they're goal oriented. They're trying to get laid, and they do it in a very kind of scientific way. They'll go into a club, and they'll hit on one girl, and then they'll hit on another girl, and they'll adjust, and they'll come back. The coach will talk to them. They'll come up with a new approach. They'll go back. So it's really kind of like real life, practical, pragmatic hypnosis. The problem with, if you read Neil Strauss's book, is that all of the people who do that wind up going insane. Yep, Chris says it's Chris. It's NLP, yes, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is, if you go to the NLP page on Wikipedia, they'll tell you that NLP is pseudoscience.
They also say that chiropractics is pseudoscience as well on Wikipedia.
So anyway, the Duke Report is just this. I try to take whatever the newest content is and kind of push it up to the top of the page. So if you haven't posted anything in a while, like Addy, you might be down because it says slow news day.
Yes. It's been.
Anyway, but here's the good news, Addy. There are platforms that generate RSS feeds, like YouTube, like Fleckus Talks, This is RSS. If you click on that link, it will take you to YouTube. Okay, because YouTube channels post RSS. So when you were talking to me about what was the video platform that you were talking to me about? Rockfin. Rockfin. Like
Yep.
Rockfin doesn't like Jason Burmis. The only thing on here, the Jason Burmis stuff that I've got on here is like a week old, because Jason Burmis doesn't post on YouTube very much anymore, because he gets strikes and stuff, obviously.
Yep.
But
Yep.
but I love his content on Rockfin, except that Rockfin has no RSS feeds, so I can't.
Yeah, let me talk to the guy in over there. Let's see if my one email will help out with that.
Yeah,
sure it
so
won't,
I mean,
but-
and Richard Grove's got a lot of great original content. He has got an RSS feed, but the problem is that Richard Grove is running an aggregator that's pulling in content from a bunch of other sites that all duplicate the stuff that's on this page. So if I could, and I'm talking to Richard Grove's tech guy about putting in basically changing his site so that I can just pull the RSS feed for his original content. Because you can do that. There's all kinds of things that you can do with those sites. And so, like I said, I'm not doing anything except curating who's on the page. And then when InfoWars updates whatever their content is, then it changes on my site. When David Icke changes something on his site, it changes on my site. When Addy Adds changes something, it changes it on my site. So like I said, the mission, the whole reason that I put this thing together is so that people can have a single source where they can go and find the people that they used to be able to, they used to subscribe to them on YouTube, and they just kind of spilled into their life on YouTube, and now they're gone, right? Or they used to go to this website, but the search engines don't track them anymore, don't post results from those websites anymore. So yeah, there's Ryan ANC report.
Sweet. Well, and people can support me also at not just the Duke Report, because I'm on there, as Peter mentioned, AddyAdds.one spelled out, and buymeacoffee.com/AddyAdds, as well as Rockfin, as mentioned by Peter.
Indeed. All right. Do we have any closing questions here?
We got Act Truth has a friend whose son was just deployed to Kosovo. Wow.
From what? From Kosovo is in
Kosovo.
Kosovo in Yugoslavia? Yeah, I think Kosovo is in Yugoslavia. Or
partially recognized de facto sovereign state in Southeast Europe, center of the Balkans.
Yeah.
Banding to the southwest.
So I guess we have. So I guess we have a base in Kosovo. Yeah, people are getting deployed all over the place. I hope that there's no popular support for any of these things. I don't. I think it's too bad that Putin felt like he needed to go do what he needed to go do, but I don't think that we probably did enough to keep him from doing that either. So.
Yeah.
There's plenty of blame to be passed around. Innocent people are getting killed. It's bad. I don't support people getting killed. But watch out for all of the nonsense out there, because they want you on a side. You said that there's a digital billboard on the freeway saying they support Ukraine.
Yes. Very weird.
Where's
Very
Fauci?
Weird. Where is Jerome Adams? Isn't that his name?
Yeah.
Jerome
So what's next, Addy? What?
So Reed Coverdale next week.
Yeah, but what do you think? But so we had COVID. Okay, now we have World War III. If they don't go forward and fight World War III, what do you think is going to be next? Is it going to be aliens or cyber attack?
Cyber attack or anything to get another lockdown? When more war or.
Well, what do you think? What do you think about the fact that Visa and MasterCard turned off Russia?
That was crazy, but Russia finally got canceled in the way that lots of people have who are doing investigative journalism.
Well, do you think
reporting.
people are going to start to put 2 and 2 together that if they can cancel a country, they can cancel a person?
Yeah, right. Well, like that, and that's the thing too. I think it was Eddie Bravo said that. He's like, what they did to Trump, I'm paraphrasing, they can do to anybody. They did that to the president of the most powerful man in the world, arguably, and
Well, obviously not.
arguably.
No, he's not.
No argument.
He's not.
Yeah.
He could look. Here's the thing. His office is the most powerful. That office is the most powerful office. But
Sure.
I don't think. I think it's like, give a 6-year-old an elephant gun. He doesn't know what to do with it.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So-
tune in next week, guys. Read Coverdale. Support us on Buy Me a Coffee, and stay.
And we'll see you
frosty.
later. Thank you, kids.